Jack Loeffler is an American oral historian, radio producer, writer, and environmentalist. He is known for his work documenting the culture and ecology of the American Southwest. He was Edward Abbey's best friend. I had the honor and privilege of interviewing him in his home in Durango, Colorado in December 2023. He was 87 years old at the time of this interview. This interview is comprised of 7 questions broken up into 11 parts into a single YouTube playlist. The full interview is also in the playlist, but will be released last. Jack is full of wisdom, and I did my best to let him speak freely without boundaries during our 3-hour conversation. Given this dynamic, Jack provided long, winding answers to my questions as he reflected back on his life. With that, let's get to the interview. Consciousness and connection to the land. Can you read the Hopi Indian segment of the book?
Yeah.
Through the "we're emotionally connected to it."
Yeah. I wish I could pull up that particular piece of excerpt of Philip actually saying it, but I couldn't. I tried.
Oh, that's okay.
Pardon me. Okay, well, this is from my book, A Pagan Polemic, and it features thinking from my friend Philip Tawalitztua. This first part is something I just wrote. The Hopi Indians inhabit 3 southern promontories of Black Mesa in what is now northern Arizona. Their village of Aribe is nearly 1,000 years old and is considered by some, I put in, to be the oldest continuously inhabited village in what is presently the contiguous 48 states, United States. As remote and as deeply embedded in cultural traditions as they are, the Hopis have been besieged by a monoculture intent on extracting minerals, resources, and water from their homeland. Their sense of connectedness to the land is ancient and runs deep. Philip Tawalitztua was born into traditional Hopi culture and was trained as a geodesist. For some time, he served as the assistant director of the National Geodetic Survey. He's a man who always knows where he is. And I quote Philip Tawalitztua, "We talk about the Sipapu, place of Hopi emergence, of being a place of being always in our memories, our thoughts. It is only one of thousands of places like that. There are hundreds of shrines all over northern Arizona and southern Utah and southern Colorado that are connected in our minds and our consciousness. We think of them in terms of what do they mean to us as a tribal people. We know that this clan or that clan was there. We know that this is the place where you go to get a particular mineral, an herb, a particular plant. We are familiar that something happened there a long time ago that affected us. It has an emotional content to it. We are emotionally connected to it, and that is why Hopis are emotionally connected to our landscape in its entirety." End of quote.
Thank you for reading that. So when I read that, and it really jumped out at me because I feel like I understand the idea of deep connection to the land through my own wilderness experiences, and I want to put the camera back on you and see if are there any wilderness experiences you've had that have allowed you to tune into your own connection with the landscape?
There's so many of them, I can't enumerate them, but a biggie is doing fire lookouts for 3 seasons where there's no tower. I mean, you're just there.
You're just in it.
And wow, I mean, camped on that rock for 100 days and nights a year was just as good as it gets. And I felt like I became part of habitat. And that was a big one. I mean, one time Well, I still had my trumpet with me.
Mm-hmm.
I still do. But one time I pulled it out and I still had some chops. And I started playing. And then I heard a turkey gobble. And I played some more. And then I heard a coyote sing. And pretty soon all three of us were doing it together. And that was cool. I mean, that we were doing a sonata for coyote, turkey, and jazz trumpet player, and it was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had.
Oh, I bet.
And you know, I felt like I'm here. I made it, and that was good. One of the things that Ed and I talked about a lot at Abbey, because we camped and camped and camped all over the place, all over the Southwest and parts of Mexico. But we figured it took a good 10 to 12 days to get into that state of mind
Mm-hmm.
that you want to be in when you're out in it like that, which to me is the best state of mind there is, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's not a state of mind, it's a watershed of mind. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
But there are places that I've been that have also evoked that deep sense. I mean, for example, Ed and I used to camp up on Cedar Mesa, Muley Point, long time ago,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know, starting back in the 70s sometime. And we'd be the only people there.
It was a dirt road, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they only put the paved road in the last handful of years because I remember it being a dirt road the last time I was there.
Well, I haven't been there since probably 2015 or 16.
Yeah. Do you remember it being paved then?
It wasn't.
Yeah.
Bummer, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's got fresh asphalt on it, and there's Wi-Fi there. It's changed.
well, I'll tell you, man, this is the first time in 60 years that I haven't lived on a dirt road.
Yeah. Oh wow.
I mean, this is fine because
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
deer come and sleep in the yard, and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
bear nailed the jack-o'-lantern pumpkin
Oh, there you go.
on Halloween. But no, being out in it on that level, one big time for me was hiking down into the Barranca del Cobre in the Sierra Madre Occidental and just seeing Tarahumara people running up and down the trail while I was slogging up and down the trail, especially up the trail. And
When was this?
the 60s.
Okay. So way before. Are you familiar with the book Born to Run?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
way before.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
So
this
that
one-
book, I feel like that book kind of put that culture on the map to the people who run in the United States.
Yeah, no, my son-in-law, I think, knows the guy who did that book
Yeah, yeah.
because he's been a runner, but he's a great biker,
Mhm.
bicyclist. But no, I lived for a while in a cave with Tarahumaras down there. And another time, even earlier on, I lived in a Huichol Indian village in the Rio Chapalagana watershed, which is further south in really remote country. And the habitat was exquisite, but the culture was the furthest out culture I've ever seen.
Mhm.
They were a peyote culture. And I happened to be there during their annual peyote fiesta, and I recorded a little bit of it. In those days, the recorder I lugged around in my backpack, which weighed a ton,
Mhm.
had very limited battery life, and I had very limited batteries,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
I could only get a little bit of it. But it's archived in the museum. But anyway, the upshot is that I've camped in all four of the American deserts and all over the Colorado Plateau and beyond, and always gotten as far away as I could. And it all speaks to me, man. It's just the American West is special. The aridity is the biggest configuration here, but I've never run the Colorado. Ed and I were going to run it Then he died, so I didn't feel like I wanted to do it after that. But running the green, that was a good trip. One of the trips went through Desolation Canyon.
Mhm.
It was Dave Foreman and Nancy, his wife, who's gone too. And Gary Snyder was on it, and his wife, who is now gone, Carol. And Peter Coyote, who's a movie actor who narrates Ken Burns films and stuff.
Oh, wow.
But Peter is a good friend, and I've got to send him a copy of this. But we all put our perspectives into it because it's, as you know, a 10-day trip
Yeah.
through Deso. And I had my own boat then. I gave it away, man, about 10, 12 years ago. I could have still done it, but there were so many folks on the river, I just didn't do it anymore.
Yeah. It's just the popularity of that flow trip, especially during the season. It's just, it has to feel, going back to what you were saying, like reserving campsites.
Yeah. I got to tell you, man, one of those special experiences that came to me. My friends Bill Brown and Carl Kernberger, who was my business partner, we had a company called the Four Brothers Adventure Company.
Okay.
And we floated the lower canyons of the Rio Grande. Have you ever been there?
I haven't.
You go to Big Bend, and there's a place called Boquillas Canyon. There are 3 canyons in the Big Bend National Park region. Of course, the river separates Mexico from U.S. Down there. And we put in Boquillas Canyon, and the river was running way high. They wouldn't let us put in on the American side because bureaucracy. The river was too high.
Right.
And so we went across the river and put it in Mexico. And that was a great run. And one night, man, it was in March of 1974 or 5 when we did this. And we got to a rapid that was the only one we had to portage. We couldn't figure a way around it. And we were really remote. I mean, it was about as far away as Rarotonga was. And we looked up in the sky. We were sitting there drinking beer and looked up in the sky. And at any given moment, we could see about 800 turkey vultures.
Oh my gosh.
And then they all landed in the cliff above us. And we estimated, ultimately, all 3 of us, we were really giving our best shot as bird watchers. And we figured there were 3,000 turkey vultures in the cliff above us. And we thought, is this a cool place to camp? But I mean, the turkey consciousness prevailed. And it was one of those times when you really understood that there's more to cognition than human consciousness.